We have two templates for equations of lines. We have this one, we have two forms for equations of lines. One is y equals mx plus b, and there's a name for this one. This is the slope-intercept form, and it's called that because m is the slope, and b, this is the y-intercept. That is the number at which the line intercepts the y-axis. And we have another one. I'm going to leave a little space here because I want to write something down here in just a minute. So our other form is this one. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. And this is called the point slope form. And the form you're going to use just depends on the information you're given. So we'll do some examples. But first, let's talk about this form right here and what information it gives us about a relationship. We know that an equation expresses a relationship between two variables, an input and an output. And there's a lot of information about that relationship visible here if you know how to read it. Now this y-intercept, I'm going to call that the start value or the initial value. Like when you come in and start observing a relationship, maybe you start your clock and time is 0. At time 0, you start observing. Well, at time 0, say x is time, m times 0 is 0, and then the output is that number right there. So when you start an observation, that's how much output you start with. So that's why I call it the start value or the initial value. Now m, this is the slope. This is the rate of change or speed. So m, that's the rate of change of the relationship or the speed at which the relationship is changing. So I'm going to call both of these things templates. These two forms, I'm going to call them templates because for this one, if you're given, you're going to use this form if you're given what? If you know the slope and that particular point on the line where it crosses the y-axis. So you might write the form like this. Y equals, something times x plus something, and then your job is to just fill in those blanks. It's just like you call up a template and fill in the blanks. And then the second one, you might write like this. Y minus, fill in that field, equals m, now you'll have to fill in that field, times x minus, fill in that field. So depending on the information you're given will determine which form you're going to use. If you just happen to be given the slope, or it's easy to get, and the y-intercept, you can just write this form and substitute those numbers right in there. Now what are you given here? This is called the point slope form because you're given a point, right? You see you're given a point here. What is this right here? Okay, that's a point, x1, y1, and so that's like the first x value that you see, the first y value that you see, and you're also given this slope. So if you're given some point and the slope, you just write this template and fill those numbers in. The y1 goes here, the m goes here, and the x1 goes here. So we'll do a bunch of examples in the next problems.